Hi there, I'm Brad Rudin, Agronomy Tech Services Manager with AgTegra Cooperative, out in our research and technology plots today to talk about this crop right behind me and specifically what happens after harvest. Our corn hybrids now have some very robust plants. There's a good stand of corn behind me, and after harvest, there's going to be a lot of residue out on this field. That residue is one, a problem for us, but two, a valuable resource for us. And let's talk about residue management because I think that's a very important topic. As we have gone to more no-till and minimum till in the northern plains here, we have a lot of corn residue that stays on the surface of the ground each year. And as our corn hybrids have improved, we improve things like stalk strength and standability in our corn. The downside of that is that residue remains on the surface. What are the problems with residue and what opportunities maybe are there? Well, let's take a look at that a little more in detail. One of the biggest things with crop residue, of course, is plantability this next spring. If we have corn residue that's on the surface and we are dealing with a lot of corn residue on here as we're going to go and plant soybeans, we have to be able to get that trash to move out of the way and be able to plant into that. That's one advantage, one disadvantage of having a lot of residue on the surface of the soil. The other big thing though is that this residue contains a tremendous amount of crop nutrients. For a 220 plus bushel corn crop out here, there is an incredible amount of some nutrients that need to be taken up into this crop to feed that ear producing that grain. Of course, when we remove the grain off of the field, we remove those nutrients. Well, we expect that everything that's left in the residue goes right back into the soil, but that's not necessarily the case. There's an incredible amount of nutrients in that soil, and we did some research out at the plots here with residue management biological products to investigate just how much nutrients we could get back out of that crop residue. But let's take a close look at the crop residue first to be able to understand what happens. I've got some residue here from an untreated plot, and I have some residue that's here from one of our plots that was treated with a residue management biological. I'm going to come up close to the camera here so we can see the differences in these plants. If we take a look at the stalks that are left out in the field out here, this is from the untreated residue. This stalk is still from 2023, from the spring of 2023, and it is still extremely hard. The base of this plant has not broken down at all. The pith in the center of it is still solid. This is going to be, one, containing a lot of nutrients, but second of all, this is still standing in between my soybean rows. And if we take a look at that kind of residue, that's going to be a problem for us actually with harvesting here, that all of this corn residue is still going to go through that plant or through that combine. If we look at the stalk that's above that, this is a stalk laying on the surface of the ground. Again, this stalk is still very hard and very firm. So this residue creates a problem for us from a harvestability point of view, but also let's talk about it from a nutrient management point of view versus this type of residue. This is taken out of where we've done a biological treatment out here with some enzymes to help break down this crop residue. If we look at the base of this plant out here, it still looks somewhat the same, but if you can see, I can squish it very easily. The top of it is absolutely shattered. And here's the stalk that's above that. This stalk is absolutely able to be crumbled very easily. This is what we can get with nutrient management or residue breakdown biological products. So let's take a look at this from the dollars and cents point of view. What did we gain? We went out into some soybean plots where we put on a residue management biological and got residue that looked something like this at the end of the year, all shattered and broken down, versus residue from an untreated plot that, again, you can see these bases of these stalks and that are very firm yet. But we took a look at what's the bottom line for us, nutrient management. Looking at the soil tests, we saw some striking differences. We found up to 58 or 68 pounds of parts per million additional potassium available in the soil test here, taken about 3 weeks ago. that potassium at the end of the season is feeding that soybean crop and helping that crop finish out the season and mature and be able to have high productivity. I think we're going to see some yield differences in there, and those yield differences will be published here very, very shortly. In addition to potassium, we also found some phosphate release off of that residue. We raised our Olsen phosphate levels significantly out in that particular plot. Then there's an incredible value in crop management by breaking down residue, and I think there's something to these residue management biologicals. The product that we tested out here that we've had some good luck with is Robust. This is from Rosen's, and it is a enzyme type product that has the enzymes that are involved in breaking down the residue that we can apply this fall to our corn residue post-harvest, even late into the season, possibly pairing it up with a residual herbicide, something like Valor herbicide, and being able to get residue management out in our fields. Now, so that's residue management, helps with harvestability. We talked about nutrient analysis, but what about our soil as well? If we're putting more crop nutrition back into the soil, are we making a difference? Well, if we take a look at the soil that's from our treated area, I can get some very nice fine crumbs out of the soil here. Whereas if I look at my untreated, I was quite surprised at this. The soil remained quite blocky. So not only are we feeding the crop, but we're also feeding the soil and feeding the microorganisms that are in the soil, getting better soil structure. So residue management, going to be a very important topic. We can do some things with tillage, but I think there's some opportunities with some biological based products, something like an enzyme product that's out here, like Robust from Rosen's, to be able to help us get nutrients available and into our next crop. Look for the yield results here coming up this winter. I think we'll be surprised with what we see and very happy with our results as we look forward to those seeing that data here at the end of the year.